Thanks so much. Great to be here. Thanks to the CXPS team. It's great to be part of this. My name is Greg Kihistrom. I'm the principal and chief strategy officer at GK5A. We are one of the sponsors of this event. We're the media sponsor. Just test this works. Okay. So I am here today to talk about kind of going beyond the hype of AI and some real ways that you can use it in your CX, in your business, and things like that. But first, maybe just a show of hands. How many of you have tried out ChatGPT just because everybody's talking about it? All right, so fair amount. A few maybe not yet. But certainly, I'll talk a little bit about that, and as well as a few other things. But first, just a little bit about me. So I decided to get AI to help me out today with some of my presentation. So these are AI-generated photos of me. Some of them kind of look like me, right? Some of them, that one on the lower right, that's me when I worked for the CIA in the 1950s. I did a BBC show. That's the two from the right. Anyway. So, got some help there. AI obviously can do images, it can do text. I asked ChatGPT to write a haiku about me. I thought that would be a nice intro for me. So I think it's flattering. So, all kinds of things you can do with it. A little bit of my background beyond what ChatGPT thinks. I have a professional services background. I ran and sold a digital marketing agency. I ran it for about 14 years, sold it about 6 years ago. So have some experience from that perspective. I work alongside other large consultancies now. Since I sold the agency, I've had a chance to write a few books and do some speaking as well as work as an independent consultant. And right now I'm working with some of the world's largest brands, some a little bit smaller, but working on marketing technology and CX-related initiatives. So one other warning, I was going to use some more images in my presentation here that were generated by AI. I just decided to totally lean into it, so there's going to be some weird background images just for what it's worth. So we're just going the full experience here. So let's get started. So as a number of you indicated already, you've used ChatGPT before. That's certainly something that gets talked a lot about. That's not the only instance of AI. I'll talk a little bit more about some of the ones that you're actively using already. AI is certainly not anything new. It's been around for decades, and anyone who has performed a search on Google, for instance, has used AI. So lots in use, but also some things to keep in mind and some things to look out for and some things to start to think about. How do you incorporate that into the CX at your company? So I do want to acknowledge the hype. There's been a lot of terms and products and things that get hype over the years. Some of these ended up being slightly successful, some of them, dubious at best. Is AI hype? Is it for real? I think the hype is generally warranted. I think there's too much hype right now. Everybody's talking about it. I think it's going to die down. But if you look at, so McKinsey looked at between 2017 and 2022, and they saw that businesses had doubled their usage of AI throughout the company in 5 years' time. That's pretty significant. ChatGPT alone became the most adopted software platform ever in the shortest amount of time. So in that 2-3 month platform, quickest adoption of any software platform. So there are some things to justify the hype, and yet we also want to be realistic. We can't just jump in and use AI kind of willy-nilly, right? So let's explore this a little bit and explore it in the context of professional services. So as I mentioned, anyone who has performed a Google search, anyone that's used Siri, Alexa, you have been using AI and you've been using it for years. I mean, Google's been around, predecessors to Google, been around since the late 90s. So Search uses algorithms. Algorithms are a component of AI. It's a type of AI. Anybody who's ever shopped on Amazon and seen product recommendations, that is using, sometimes it's a very simple algorithm, sometimes it gets much more complex. If you're doing anything like that in your businesses, same thing, you've been using AI. Any type of task or workflow automation. If you use project management software or have any type of task management where somebody finishes something, it goes to the next person, that is an algorithm that is using AI, albeit sometimes very simple AI, but it's using AI to help automate your workflow of your business. But there's a lot more, and there's a lot more that is not only recent, but a lot more potential coming around the bend. So a few things that I think CX professionals need to understand in particular. Again, don't get distracted by the AI backgrounds, just having some fun there. So humans are really good at a lot of things, but there's a lot of things that they're not good at. So large-scale data entry, parsing large sets of data, repetitive tasks, humans are just not great at it. They do it, they've had to do it, they've really had no choice in a lot of cases, but AI and data science in general is really, really good at those repetitive tasks, at looking at large sets of data, trying to make sense of them. So when you have those cases where there are repetitive things that need to get done, or just something that is too large a set of information for someone to go through, or even just, I think somebody mentioned the other day about writing proposals, right? Who hasn't written like 100 proposals at this point in their life? And going through those, analyzing those, seeing the common trends, and then being able to spit out a new proposal based on those, that's not science fiction anymore. That's becoming reality. And so being able to do that, one person reading through 100 proposals, that's not going to happen in any short amount of time, but AI can do it very well. AI can serve as a great starting point. I wouldn't go to ChatGPT and say, hey, write me the next great American novel, for instance, but I would say, hey, give me the starting point, give me the intro for a proposal, give me the intro for a letter to my clients, things like that, and to get started, but not necessarily to finish. Humans can finish up. And really, AI should not be scary. It should be job security. Learn how to use it, learn how to embrace it within what you're doing. So just a few things here. I'll go fairly quickly. I know we only have a few minutes here, but a few areas where you should start thinking. So we talked about ChatGPT. That's what's considered generative AI. So are the images here, images, text, all of those kinds of things. Personalizing your client experiences, that is something where I know in professional services, a lot of times it's a very customized approach to how things go, so maybe sometimes that's not possible. Something to consider, though. Workflow automation, that is definitely something. I've heard a bunch of talk, sort of secondhand about project management solutions and things. Definitely look into that. Look into how you can automate that, make things more efficient. And then measurement and optimization. Find ways to look at the data, whether it's financial data, project data, other things to make them more successful. So just a few things in closing here before we get to a couple questions. So I like to think of it as more of a mindset versus me saying you've got to use this platform versus another. There's going to be a new platform that pops up tomorrow that none of us have heard of that might be just the thing for your firm, but think of AI as augmenting humans, not replacing humans, right? It's a tool that helps you do things better, quicker, more efficient, and not to replace people on your team. It's a form of starting things, not finishing. Give me a few ideas, give me a starting paragraph, things like that. It can curate large amounts of data, but it doesn't necessarily have the background and the subject matter and domain expertise to be able to summarize those. So think of it as it's able to collect a lot of stuff, put it together, but it's going to take a human to really summarize those things and make it strategic and make it meaningful. AI can analyze, but it's not strategic. It doesn't have general knowledge of the world like humans do. So, think of it as a tool to help you analyze things, but again, that's where it can augment strategy. Be mindful of bias that gets introduced into your AI. This could be a whole other talk for an hour, but suffice to say, if you start feeding AI information, it is trained on information. Be careful the information that you feed it, that it's not going to go off on a tangent somewhere and be biased. And just for everyone, for those that you manage, for those that you work with, it's time to start embracing this type of work, this type of technology. It's time to upskill, time to reskill, and rethink your jobs in terms of utilizing AI. And last word, I asked ChatGPT, what's the most important thing that professional services companies should know about AI? Just 3 things here. It's kind of fortunate. It reiterated what I was saying earlier. It helps automate repetitive, tedious tasks. It helps enhance decision-making and problem solving. And it can improve customer satisfaction and retention through personalization and other things. So shameless plug for my podcast. I'm actually going to have Ryan on the show this Friday and a few others related to this conference. So we'd love for you to, it's available everywhere, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and everything like that. And thank you for your time here. And I think we have time for maybe one question, okay.
Any questions for Greg? Not a question as much as an observation, but I got a download this morning for Office 365. And the first document I got into, it started asking me questions. What tone of voice do I want? How can I rephrase? And I never did that before, so
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. It must be part of my subscription.
Yeah, Microsoft is making big. I mean, they made a huge investment in ChatGPT and stuff. So yeah, it doesn't surprise. Yeah, Google Docs does the same or is doing similar things. Yeah.
I'm just curious, do you think that AI is or will be successful in humor and sarcasm and things like that?
Thus far, it has not been very successful. It has a very dark humor at best. In relation to humans. I think it's gonna get better. I think if it was solely trained on humor, probably it could start getting better. But yeah, I do think creativity and as well as strategy and other things, they're a human domain for the time being. I mean, when it gets to that point, then it's a whole other set of problems we need to deal with, I think. But yeah. Recommended AI for transcription correction. I think there are a lot of tools. It kind of depends. I use one for my podcast, for instance, but it's kind of baked in. There's a service called Rev that I've used that's pretty good. But even Microsoft Teams has transcription now of meetings, which is actually getting pretty good as well. But yeah.
Right.
Well, thank you so much.